We have a shocking message from JK talking about his show and what this is about. We also have people saying that JK might have mentioned a sex position, and then we have HYBE allegedly taking down more posts and what's going on with that. So dumplings and Steve decide, let's get into it. It took a lot of research to figure out what was going on with the label right now amidst the lawsuit and why they were forcing takedowns, or allegedly forcing takedowns, and I still don't know if I fully understand it, but I'll explain what I do understand, and as for the rest, it will just maybe have to unfold as things progress. But of course, I want to be clear about that, because if I do get things wrong or if it's not 100% correct, of course I will correct myself later. But just so you know, a lot of this stuff is pretty difficult for me to understand, as it's also in a different language, so there is that barrier, and there's also legal things that are happening. So many people are involved, and so many people believe a different thing, and they believe a different thing as to what is right and what is wrong. So since that is clear now, I'm going to get into it. So I believe this took place after the girls of New Jeans did a live stream basically voicing their opinions on the suit situation, basically saying that they side with their former CEO, Min Hee-jin. I thought this was interesting because it seemed like the girls had a notepad at the time, and I guess if what they're saying is true, then they probably took the notes themselves and they were not forced to make this video, which is what a lot of people felt like was happening behind the scenes. There was a news article that came out that basically said that Min did not force them to make this video and actually advised them against making this video, given the implications that this could have. It's also never a good idea to publicly turn, or at least appear like you're publicly turning on your company. That doesn't look good for the company. And of course, it can have stockholder issues too, right? And the label could even take legal action if those things plummet dramatically because of their video. Now, this news article continues to basically free Min from the situation, to say that this was not her idea at all, like the live stream. Now, this article has since then been removed, allegedly, and people have some theories as to why it's been removed. The most leading theory is that HYBE took down this post, and they don't specifically say why they believe the label did it, but it's believed, it's implied, just that the label took it down because it makes Min look good, and they only want press that makes her look bad. Other theories suggest that the label even went as far as to pay the news site to take the post down, saying that, like, wow, it seems like the label has this huge sway within media sites. And I believe there were some moments not too long ago where people were upset over the DUI situation with Suga, and they were saying that the label was not taking down those news posts. And maybe those people are upset now because they believe, oh look, the label can take down posts, but they're just not taking down posts to protect their artists. None of this makes any sense, because if they had any sway to take down posts, they would have taken down all of those DUI posts. They would not have kept any of those. Bang PD is a good friend of BTS and he loves all of them, so there's no way, if he could help it, would keep those posts up. People think interesting things, and oftentimes they don't know the full story. I imagine oftentimes people from behind the scenes in the label are looking at these comments and these accusations and being like, oh my god, what is even this? If I was someone who was saying these awful things online, my thought would not be that this alleged tyrant of a label is someone who can do anything. But they only attack their own artists, and they hate their own artists. They hate when their artists make them money, and they just only help themselves, and that's it. Instead, my thought would be, oh, if I write these awful comments about the label, they might take legal action on me. Why isn't that the thought? Why isn't the thought, oh, I don't know the full story of what's happening behind the scenes? They might take legal action on me, especially since half the people saying these things are saying it as if it's fact. That's the thing. If you're saying that this is your opinion and you believe that this could be happening, that's fine. But they don't say that. It's different when you're saying it as fact. JK also recently had a shocking confession, and people thought it was hilarious. People were definitely freaking out about it. This was a scene from JK and Jimin's reality show, Are You Sure? And they were all having some food and eating together. And I think it was V that asked why RM was not showing up that day, why he wasn't eating with them, or why he wasn't going to be in that episode. Perhaps even asking if he was even invited. JK quickly responded to say that not everyone gets to be on the show, and that is such a cute response. I think because it's so sassy. It also says that everyone that is in this episode are maybe people that he is closest with. This isn't to say that he hates the other members, but it's the same as you're probably not close to every single cousin that you have. You probably still love all of them. If you're someone who has multiple siblings, like even 3 or 4, then you probably will have a favorite that you hang out with the most. Doesn't mean that you hate the rest of them. Could mean, but it doesn't always. And you just have that one that you prefer. So in this case, JK could just prefer to be around Jimin and V the most. Obviously, I guess if V is asking this, then RM probably hasn't enlisted yet at the time. So he definitely would have been available, but RM could have been busy, and overall this could have just been an episode where they just wanted the younger members to be in it. So not including the older line. And the fact of the matter is, when I see a lot of the photos of these subunits kind of going out and hanging out together, it's often the younger ones hanging out with each other and then the older ones hanging out with each other. I rarely ever see like JK and RM go out and hang out, or like Jimin and J-Hope to go hang out. And I don't even necessarily know if those combos or these subunits even hang out as much necessarily in their own reality shows. Although I could be wrong and forgot. I don't remember seeing it. And this doesn't mean that they hate each other. This just means that maybe the chemistry is just better when they're around people that are closer to their own age. It is strange to think about, but when you have a group that is much larger than a lot of boy bands that have existed before, it makes sense that the boys would at one point, or when they hang out on their own time, try to split up and do their own thing. There's a lot of overlap in commonalities that they might have with each other, but there's probably more with the older and then the younger just by themselves. Now, recently there has been something that has been trending or talked about, and it's something that's very interesting. So someone brought up an old clip of when JK was doing like a radio show interview, and he was kind of just reading through some questions online, and he was getting. This wasn't an interview where you could see his face, it was just his voice, and he was doing like the rapid fire, pick this or this, and just like pick which one he prefers. One of the questions was none other than asking him bottom or top. It's interesting that they phrased it like that because I've only ever heard it being asked as top or bottom. So I'm wondering if they had a pre-notion of what they thought he was already, and then they were just like, oh, if we put it first, he might pick that one. I don't know. Now, this is probably something I don't really have to explain to a lot of maybe the younger people, but for maybe some people that are a little bit older and not as familiar with the LGBT community, this is a term that applies to that. So basically it's implying that who will be the one that is receiving and who will be the one that is giving. Giving being the top, receiving being the bottom. So in a more heterosexual relationship, the girl would be considered the bottom and the man would be considered the top. Now this question applies because a lot of people had either assumed JK was dating V or JK was dating Jimin, and that rumor has now exploded with the show. So people have wondered what position the members take. Now this is obviously such a personal question. I don't like that this is something that's being asked. I also don't like when this is something that's being assumed, because so many people have just come up and assumed my orientation, and then at the same time have then assumed a position that I would take. And most of the time it's wrong, so I don't like that the assumption is being made. So in most LGBT relationships, each of the members in that relationship takes on the same role. In some LGBT relationships, I'm sure there is someone that would take on the male role and then someone that would take on the more female role, right? i.e. maybe the person that stays home and becomes the quote-unquote housewife versus the person that goes out and becomes the provider, right? But quite honestly, these are far and few in between. And the ones that you are seeing that look like that are usually the ones in a gay relationship where the man is like really old and is a sugar daddy, and then there's like a really young man who acts this more feminine half of the relationship. However, this doesn't exist for the most part. And I would imagine with two people like Jimin and JK, they would not be fighting to either be more masculine or be more feminine and have those roles. They're both men and masculine. People have started making some NSFW edits that show JK on top, because JK said during that interview that he is the top when that question was asked. This is sexual harassment, that's first and foremost. And JK had no idea what he was answering. There's a cultural barrier when these things are answered, in my opinion. When I heard the answer, he answered top almost like a question mark at the end. Some people were saying that he answered it really proudly. To me, it sounded like a question. And the reason I thought that was because he was probably thinking, who would want to be at the bottom of success? Everyone would always want to be the one that ends up on top. There are quite literally straight people who will put top in their bio, like the emoji, because what they're saying is that they are the ones that are on top, and that they're not gay because they're usually married. And sometimes they'll put top and then #1 Billboard artist or something like that. And that doesn't mean that they're gay. That means that they are the #1 Billboard artist. So that word doesn't have the same implication in the non-LGBT world as it does in the LGBT world. So I just want to make that very clear. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.